Hello, everyone. You will not guess who I have here with me today. Superstar Whitney Mittons. Y'all gonna learn about her in 1 second. My name is Bianca Cotton for those who I have yet to meet. I'm the founder of Behind the Confident Smile, where we inspire women to walk in love, live in hope, and be healed from past hurts. You all are in for a treat. We've been talking about defining Black womanhood with Black women from different backgrounds, and I'm so excited to dig into Whitney's story on today. But before she starts to speak, I want to share a little bit about who she is. You can already see she's beautiful and fabulous. So, I mean, that's a given. She is an equity, diversity, and inclusion practitioner by trade and a creative engager and community builder by nature. She has a passion and knack for communicating ideas, connecting people, and curating experiences. She has a bachelor's in sociology, and that excited me because I do as well. You know, us sociology folks are all around here. And she has a master's in organizational leadership. So, Whitney, thank you for being here with us to share how you define Black womanhood.
Thank you for inviting me. I am such a fan of this series and these conversations. I I'm a fan of any space that is embracing and affirming Black women. Like that's my jam right there. Like if that's what you're doing, count me in. So I'm just glad to be asked to be a part of the conversation.
Oh, definitely. So, let's dig right in. What does defining Black womanhood mean to you?
So when I think of just defining anything, I think of like giving it a name, right? Giving it a name. So calling it out, and when you define something to me, you create it with your words. So when it comes to like defining Black womanhood, I'm able to use my words to describe the shape and the form of my experience as a Black woman.
Mm,
And that's what defining it is to me. Using my words to show you the shape and the form of what Black womanhood is to me, because Blackness and womanhood are two of my intersections that pretty much touch every part of my life. I can't think of nowhere where being Black or being a woman, or both of them, you know what I'm saying,
it's
are
true.
not heavily in influence. So did you watch Lovecraft Country?
Parts of it.
Okay.
The other parts, I was like, man, a lot of sci-fi. Like I'm getting lost.
There was a lot. One of my favorite ones though, and those are I don't watch a lot of TV as it is. People had to keep telling me to watch it. And I'm like, now listen now.
Same. I was
If,
like, what
if
is
it's gonna keep me up at night, I'm gonna be upset with you. But I love the episode called I Am Hippolyta, where this woman was going to these different realms and she was naming herself.
mm,
And she was saying, I am this, and I am a warrior. And she was like zipped into this whole warrior or whatever. And she called herself back to, and she was like, she was gone from her family for a while she was doing this. And she showed up with her daughter and she was like, I have traveled through time and space, and then I named myself your mother, and that's why I'm back here.
mm.
And to me, like defining who you are as a Black woman is so nuanced and it's so different for everybody. My Black might be a little bit different than your Black, and my version of womanhood is a little bit different, but we're able to name who we are for ourselves. And what Black womanhood means to me, I get to say that. No one gets to say that for me. And so I like being able to take my lived experience, take what my reality is, take how things have happened and shaped out for me, and I get to say, what that is for me.
That's good. So if you could define that in 3 words, which 3 words would you choose?
So if I had to define my Black womanhood, it is beauty, it is godly, and it is grace.
Mm. Beauty, godly, and grace.
And it's hard to shy away from the words like strong and resilient because there's so much of who it is. But I feel like I find all of that in God. That's where I find that. You know what I mean? And so I'm able to shy away from those because because I can wrap that, because that's really where my strength lies. You know what I mean? That's really where I find it anyway. In and of myself, I ain't got it. None
Me,
of it. You be like, Black women are so strong. Honey,
so
you don't know
tired.
how many of us want to lay. We tired is what we is. We real tired of you.
But with God's help, we like, okay, I can get up one more day.
Right, one more day. Or I will get up one more day. I don't want to,
But I get up.
but I'm called to, so I'm gonna get up and do it with God's help.
That's let's dig into that a little bit more. Beauty, God, and grace. What does grace mean to you?
Grace is grace means a lot of things to me. And it's so heavy on me right now because I'm in a space where I look around the world and I feel like grace is not something Black women are given as freely as we should be. And we don't give it to ourselves as freely as we should. We give it to a whole lot of people we shouldn't, and we withhold it from a whole lot of people we should, starting with ourselves, right? And so when I look at, like, kind of when you think about the Bible, mercy is keeping things from you that you probably do deserve, and grace is giving you those things that you might not necessarily feel like you do. And so I think, giving people leeway, giving yourself some leeway, saying, you know what, it's okay that I did not check off everything on that list today. That's fine.
Yeah.
Me, I've worked with youth a lot, right? And we grew up, we're probably peers age-wise. We grew up with the whole, don't bring that attitude around here, ... Your mama ain't teach you, don't be disrespectful. Me dealing with youth who have a horrible attitude and stopping and saying, I'm not about to meet you where you are.
Right.
I'm about to be up here and give you a whole lot of grace. I was just telling someone this today at work. I said, I was working with some junior high school students. And I was passing out papers in a literature class, and this girl has her head on the desk, and I put the paper down. She knocked it off the desk. Now that, typically that'll get you got right there. Right. And you know what I did in that moment? I picked it up and I said, are you okay? And she was like, I have a headache. I said, oh, you're not feeling well. You want me to write you a note to go to the office? She melted.
You showed her kindness.
She melted. Whole attitude change. She was like, no, I don't feel that bad. I don't need to go to the office. I said, oh, because if you're not feeling good, it's hard to do your work. So just let me know. You can go to the office, but I'm going to leave this here and try to get, as much of it done if you feel up to it. If not, you're going to have to take it home. I'm trying to give y'all time to do it in class, but just let me know. And when I said, and she's like, okay. And she sat up and did it. And I think she's so used to giving that attitude and giving that back or getting that kind of response for someone to disarm her in that way. Like all she needed, and yes, she was disrespectful. No, you don't knock no paper off a table, but I'm going to extend to you some grace right now because I don't know nothing about you.
True.
Or what happened before you came in here. I'm going to model for you
response because maybe no one else has shown you how you can respond.
Yes.
So my natural inclination is to snap back because that's what I know. So
and
that's
I
what
don't
I
want
know.
to be that.
And people keep giving me what I know. I don't know how to respond any other way.
And the thing is that's my natural inclination too. But you get to a point where you're like, I don't want it to be. I don't feel good about the fact that snapback is what and you call yourself a little higher and be like, you know what? I need to be I want to be more gracious. I want to be a more gracious person. And you practice that, right? I don't know what movie it was. And it was like, if you ask God for more patience, he ain't just going to drop no patience in you. No, he's going to give you opportunities to be patient. If I want to be a more gracious or graceful person, I have to take those opportunities to do that. And if I want more grace, I got to practice it.
Yes.
With people who I don't feel like deserve it, but that's what it is. It's about giving folks what they don't necessarily deserve. Yes. And so, because I need a whole lot of stuff I don't necessarily deserve or have earned. I want somebody to drop some money in my account right now that I did not earn and give it to me. Yes. I want it.
Stimulus check.
I feel like my ancestors been earned it several times over. Y'all, listen, y'all should just gave it to Black people and called it reparations. Y'all act like it's so hard. You just let me know you had it right there. These stimulus checks just let me know you had my reparations in your pocket this whole time. But
But
yeah,
it's
that's
about
why I
systems
think
and
grace is so
structures
important.
and policies, right? It's like,
That's why I think grace is so important in this time, especially when we're talking about Black womanhood, just to really get to a place where that's something that people, when we talk about Black women being graceful, it's typically like how they handle situations, how they, you know what I'm saying, deal with everything with their head held high. But I want it to be more in tune with like Black women are kind. And
yeah,
we're known for getting folks together and gathering folks up. But we are also equally as kind. When you think about who you call when you need something, it's probably a Black woman.
yeah,
When you think about who you
yeah,
call in a pinch, it's probably a Black woman.
yeah.
Your granny might fuss, but she coming. You
It's
know
true.
what I'm saying? And so I want to people to think, so I want to be the person or the parent, right, that comes and don't fuss.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a fuss on the way in silence.
Yeah, to reverse the narrative, to unlearn those immediate responses, like
Yeah,
to unlearn the things that have been passed down from generation to generation to protect us,
to
right?
protect
As
us.
a means of protection and because of our environment, but that's toxic for us. It's for
Because a
our
lot of
mental health,
times,
for our spirit.
yes, a lot of times when somebody like when granny is fussy with you, everything she's saying is something you need to say, you need to hear. It's
Mm,
something that needs to be said and you need to hear, but is this the right time?
right.
And is the person receptive? Is that tone going to get the point across, right? And I look at a lot of wisdom we miss from the elders because the delivery ain't there and our ability to receive ain't there, and I want to bridge that gap so bad.
That's
I
good.
think about I think about folks who, the folks who turn their nose up at kids with their pants sagging, like, man, there's so much y'all could get from each other, but you're not gonna address him because
Because
his
you're looking
presentation
at
is
what he looked like.
his presentation is an issue for you, and he not gonna accept you because he can't get past the delivery. And it's like, man, if we need to bridge that gap. We missing so much.
Yeah.
But like, the elders there, oh, you're getting fat. I'm glad you're concerned about me. I'm
It's
glad you're concerned about me.
important weight, ma'am.
And maybe we could have a conversation, because what you could have said, like, is everything okay?
Yeah.
Because I might be picking up weight or losing weight because I'm depressed or I'm really going through or I need some help. And that might have been your way of saying I'm actually concerned about you, but that delivery ain't it, grandma. Ain't he?
And that creates offense. Seeding
Hmm.
of offense is planted in the heart, and it makes it hard to connect and to
Yes.
relate. It's like, I just want to move out the house. I just want to get away from them
Yes.
because they get on my nerves, and not having the language to fully articulate the way you talk to me rubs me the wrong way. It makes me want to run away from you. Like, you may mean well,
Yes.
but the speech is not hitting. It's not hitting.
It's
Like,
not giving what it was supposed
and,
to have gave.
and when we talk about emotional intelligence, right? That might be a new age thing when we
Hmm.
talk about our elders, like emotional intelligence. Forget that. Like, you just hear what I'm saying and you get to moving. But look at where we are now.
They
Is
didn't
that
have the luxury.
productive?
They didn't have the luxury of some of
Right,
these things that we're asking them for.
right.
They literally were trying to keep, I think there's so much slavery mentality handed down, but it was literally to keep you alive, right? We talk about Black folks being hard on their kids, and you think about the world they were sending them out into. If you go all the way back to slavery, you got women, who love their babies, sending their 4 and 5 year olds off to work. I can't let you think it's okay to cry
Right.
and whine and talk back. Because that's your life on the line.
Yeah.
I don't, I actually, all the tenderness that I have, I got to give it to this white person's kids that I'm raising, because I'll get beat if I don't. I don't get to be tender towards my own kids because I have to set you up in a way that you're able to just obey and hold it in and be, and do whatever. And it's actually a very sad thing, but that's that was done out of survival.
Yeah.
And so we're still shifting. We're still shifting and saying, hey, they did that so we don't have to.
Right.
They did that so we don't have to. And really what I think what people aren't finding is that the message that we safe now.
Yeah.
Like, we still trying to get that we free now, but we're safe now.
and it's hard to grasp that when you keep seeing your people being murdered.
Yes. Because
Like,
we're not safe.
am I really safe? Like, do I need to code switch because I might lose my job, or I can't get into the school I want to get into, or I need to move to a certain neighborhood or a certain state so I can have a sense of security, right?
Yes.
So, in some ways, we have made progress. In some ways, it's still a lot of struggle because they are real fears.
And even what you just said, right? It makes me think about whiteness and white supremacy and how it permeates in our own neighborhood. We worry in our own households with our own kids, and we parenting them a certain way about how y'all gonna treat them out there. That really don't even have to have a ton to do with in here. I can prepare you for that out there, but still love on you real differently in here. But I have, that preparation piece, like where can we separate it? Where do we find the way to teach our kids you're safe in here, but you might not be out there, right? Why does that permeate all the way into our house and us feeling like we got to make you tough and we got to make you always on point, right? Where do you get the space to, and it's so hard when you go to work and you see, especially, we're talking about Black women in leadership, and you see white people being so free to be mediocre and you can't. When I tell you that sometimes, it's going to sound so crazy, mediocrity is like sometimes I operate in a mediocre way as my resistance. It's my resistance. So I remember one day I walked into a meeting late, maybe like 2 minutes late. When I tell you, I like shrunk in the meeting. Like I'm trying to be invisible, right? I'm trying to be invisible. I don't want nobody to see me. Don't look up. I don't want to disturb nothing. I should have been here. I saw a white woman walk in maybe 5 more minutes after me with a coffee in her hand, waving at folk, eased around the table, found a good seat. I said, she ain't feel no, because whatever she was doing before this, she felt was important enough where y'all was going to excuse her when she walked in here. No one was going to look at her crazy or think sideways. She did not think she needed to shrink and be invisible. She ain't walking in like she did nothing wrong. And I'm going to live with that same freedom. Sometimes I come late on purpose. I'm here. I was doing something very important, which is why I'm late. I'm gracing you with my presence.
And I'm deep what you just said.
I'm careful about when I do it in the spaces, but just to show into what I think it does, it humanizes Black people. We are not humanized on a certain level, right? And we feel like we have to be superhuman sometimes because people are already looking at us as subhuman. So just to get up here, we got to act up here. No. And honestly, truly, I was doing something important. I work with students. I was dealing with my student. I was speaking with them. I was handling what needed to be handled. This is still important enough for me to come to, and I'm not going to be a distraction, but I'm not going to shrink into this room. I'm going to walk in free and happy to be here like Kate, waving at folks with my coffee.
Wow.
Because if y'all can accept that from her, why can't you accept it from me? If your assumption is that, oh, she must have been doing something important, your assumption should be, oh, I must have been doing something important.
Breaking the stereotypes.
And sometimes we put them things on ourselves. We done decided I need to go. I don't want them to think Black women always late. People is late. Just folks. Folks who don't plan ahead is late. Folks with kids be late. Folks who like to do their makeup particularly, be late. Folks be late.
For whatever reason.
For whatever reason. My dad is a military man. He always on time. There's a Black man to be on time. I be late. I know tons of white women and white men who be late. I'm not putting that on me no more. I'm not holding that no more. I don't feel like I got to be on time for the whole Black culture. I done seen enough white people walking to meetings late.
You just lifted a burden. You like, I'm freeing myself, like Fantasia say.
Yes.
So how would you define your leadership style? You say you work with students, yes. You do EDI work. For those who don't know, equity, diversity, and inclusion work. What does that mean?
So I'll start with what the EDI, did the quick overview. It's so popular right now, it's all the rage, it's the thing, because they out here, white people just found out in 2020 that it was racism. Yeah, they had just found out racism was a thing. And so they were shocked and appalled to learn that this was going on. And so they really felt like it was very important in 2020 to start doing something about it. So this is work I've been doing for a couple of years now, but so equity, diversity, and inclusion, I define them this way, right? Like, so diversity was the buzzword first, decade or two ago.
Yeah.
Just making sure we got a whole bunch of different kind of people in the room, right?
Right.
That's what diversity is to me. Diversity is who was at the party.
Right.
Got some Black folks at the party, some white folks at the party, some Latinx folks at the party, some queer folks at the party, some Muslim folks at the party. That's diversity. We're all here. It ain't enough. It ain't never gonna be enough. You move up to inclusion. If diversity is who's at the party, inclusion is who's dancing.
Right.
Because who is your DJ and what are they playing? Did you invite all these people, but you only playing country music?
Right.
Then you've not included a whole lot of folks who like a whole lot of other genres. They're here, but you've not made them feel like they belong. You've not brought in a caterer who has food that is something that they would enjoy. You got a bunch of casseroles. You know what I'm saying? So inclusion is making sure you are paying attention to who's in the room and you are creating a sense of belonging, a sense of comfortability for those who are in the room. So diversity is who's at the party, inclusion is who's dancing. Equity is making sure everyone has what they need to have a good time. The difference that people get tripped up with equity and equality. Equality is everybody having the same thing. Right. Equity is everybody having what they need. So everyone having the same thing, like, and this is the analogy I use. If I'm having this party, right, and I say, bam, I want to make sure everybody gets to the party. I sent out the invites. We got, all kind of different kind of food stations. We got DJs about to play all the, top 40 from all the genres. We ready. I'm gonna send everybody a bus card to make sure they can make it to the party. If I have a car, don't need a bus card.
I need gas money.
I need gas money. If there's not a bus station anywhere near to me, I live in a super rural area, you might need to send me an Uber, right? Removing the barriers is what equity is. Removing the different barriers so that everybody has equal level of access. So our access needs to be equitable. Making sure, yeah, we all got the same thing, but can we all get to that thing? Right. You got us at the party. We invited to the same party, but can we all get to the party? So equity is giving everybody what they need to have a good time. So I do work to help push those kind of efforts. And I work in higher education at a community college, so at the college, to make sure we have an equitable, diverse, and inclusive learning, work, and teaching environments. And so my leadership style in that, I say very much I'm servant leadership and shared leadership are real big for me. I don't get too deep into the zodiac, but I'm a Leo, and I love to say it because I have a lot of those qualities. I'm an extrovert. I like to be with people. I like to be around people. I like to collaborate. So that lends itself to shared leadership. Do I understand that I'm the leader? Yes. Do I understand what my role is? Yes. But I want to do this with you. For me, it's more fun when I'm doing it with you, right? Right. So that's where that shared leadership comes in. And also, it's two things to me about leadership that are super important. One thing is, a leader is not just the person in front of the crowd. That don't make you a leader.
No, not the one-man show or one-woman show.
Just because you walking and it's a whole crowd behind you and you at the front, don't mean you the leader. Because they might not actually be following you. Y'all just might all happen to be going in the same direction. Like there has to be something, specific there for leadership. And what I really view leadership in and of itself is an opportunity to influence. Being a leader is that you have an opportunity to influence. And so if I have an opportunity to influence people, to influence a process, to influence a project, to put my influence in some policy, I want to make sure, and this is where my servant leadership comes in, that the folks that are working with me, if I want to collaborate, if I want to share this leadership, that they have what they need. Our progress, our project, our whatever, the outcome is going to be its best when people brought their best work to the table. What do you need to bring your best work to the table? If I'm not coming from a servant-hearted place of knowing what that is, of hearing you, of seeing you, of speaking to you, of coming down to make sure we on the same level, that I know what it is that you need, you're not going to bring your best to the table. And I can't help you bring your best to the table because I don't know what the best is. I don't know what you need to be your best. I don't know where you feel like you are. The other thing that I think is super important to the mark of a good leader is they bring up other leaders. If you got a person that's been heading up this office for 20 years and ain't nobody else came out of that office that's dynamic, that's innovative, that's whatever, I don't think that's a good leader.
Yeah.
If they've not shown, if there's no one that has been developed under them,
yeah, and
that's not a good leader. You can't know that. You can't develop anybody if you're not able to really get down and talk to that person. If you're not able to say, okay, what do you care about? What's important to you? Where you want to be in 10 years? What do you need? And if you're not able to say, hey, I don't know if you notice, you're amazing in this area. You shine in this area. Let me give you opportunities to shine a little more. Or, hey, you could do a whole lot better if you would tighten up over here. So I'm about to hold you to that. You have to be, in my opinion, in a servant-hearted place to be willing to say, yes, I'm the leader, but I'm about to be sitting here at the table next to you, walking alongside you. So I'm making sure you're able to have what you need so you can give, you know what I'm saying, what you need to give to this project. So that's how I really approach leadership, is not necessarily leading from behind or in front, but I'm right here with you.
Yes.
This is our thing.
You journeying with.
Yes, I want to journey, and it's not totally extrinsic. It's not like I just want to do the best. It's more fun for me. I enjoy people. I want to talk to you. I don't want to do this by myself. I don't like it. It ain't fun. I want to sit around and strategize with some folks. Other people don't enjoy that. They need to, you know what I'm saying, step back. Let me look at this myself. Let me work through it. I want all the ideas. I want all the collaboration. Again, I'm an extrovert, right? I am fueled by having that from other people. Introvert, all that people, and drains them. They need to step back. Like, I think it's so weird. People get confused about what introverts and extroverts are. Like, they automatically think introverts are shy. It doesn't mean that. No. It just means they refuel and they recharge by having that alone time. I refuel and recharge by having people around me. Yeah. And so I'm able to give, that's how I have to lead almost to be most effective. Yeah. When I'm in situations where I am kind of isolated by myself, it is more difficult for me to do my best work. It is more difficult for me to be that very bureaucratic leader where I just am passing things down the line. That's actually, I can do it, but it's not the most comfortable or the most natural way for me to work or lead.
Right. It probably takes more intentionality and energy to do it for you. And I think you have said some very key pieces without saying is, you know yourself. You know what makes you tick. You know how you best lead, because you have taken the time to pay attention to yourself and reflect. Like, I realize I work better with other people. I thrive with people. It's not to say that I cannot do it without people. I thrive that way.
And thrive is the word. Yes. Sometimes we be okay just getting by. I want to thrive. And you know what else has helped me? Having different leaders, having leaders with those different styles, and having leaders who weren't super great leaders and then leaders who were really, really great leaders. And I'm like, oh, I see how much I thrived under your leadership. Yeah. And I saw that when you saw things in me, or when you put me in certain positions, or when you said, okay, we're going to give Whitney the people-y projects because you're good with people. Like, sometimes things about yourself, but when someone else confirms or affirms that for you, it really helps.
In the space for you to exercise.
Yes. Because so what?
It's not enough to say, I see it in you, but if you have the power to sit me at tables, please do so.
And that's what leadership is to me. It is that ability or that opportunity to influence. It's a positioning. I am in position to influence. How am I going to wield my influence today? If I see that Bianca is on this team, and Bianca really, 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 has a knack for graphic design, and they came over here talking about, can y'all go ahead and knock out these flyers? Give her that chance. Maybe that ain't what she signed up for.
Right.
Maybe she's here for the whatever, but I'm the leader here. I'm gonna move you around and put you over here where I know you have an opportunity to shine. And
Mhm.
that can mean different things. Sometimes that's moving people around. That's sometimes it's saying, hey, are you willing to take on this extra role?
Right.
And being honest and transparent and being like, ain't no extra pay come from this, ain't no whatever. You don't have to do it, but it's an opportunity. And I just want, you to have this chance if you want it. Just doing that, like you said, giving people those seats at the table. People have done that for me. People have spoken up for me and have said, we got this person over here who's really good at XYZ. So you reached out to our office for this. This is who I'm gonna send you. They could have gone themselves. They were the person the email came to. They were the person the inquiry came to. But they gave that to me. Now, whether it's because they didn't want to do it or whether it's they really were just like, I know this person shines. But using your influence and your and that's a big part of EDI work as well, of what I tell people. That's a part of that equity, of you using your influence to help shift that balance sometimes.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. So let's switch gears to the mental health piece, right?
Oh.
How do you take care of your mental health doing all of this, right? Like gathering folks and shepherding them and drinking with them, as well as being a mom and just being Whitney. Like, what is that like for you?
That to be perfectly transparent is an area of opportunity for me.
Mm.
My mental health is something that I have to and am actively being intentional about, and staying on myself about, hey, you have to take care of yourself. So you mentioned, being a mom. I have a 2-year-old and I'm a single parent, which is another layer to how hard that is. And I became a single parent when my daughter was an infant still. And I was, first time mom, a new mom, like, surprise, you a single mom too, because I didn't see that coming. It was not what I expected to happen. And it took me a long time to admit and name for myself that I had postpartum depression. And
Mm.
when I finally did, I was in such a bad place. And coming out of it, I had to step back and look and be like, how did you let yourself get to that place? Right? How did you let what was going on up here? How did you ignore for so long the pain you were in? How did you ignore for so long that exhaustion? How did you ignore for so long feeling that dark? And it was because for a number of reasons, right? There's so many layers there, but one of them was because I have this little tiny person that depends on me, and
Right.
all I can focus on is making sure she's okay. She's okay. She's okay. And people were telling me, if you're not okay, she won't be okay. She can only be okay if you're okay. She's only as okay as you are. But I could not pull myself away from pouring into her enough to pour into me, because I didn't know how to create and maintain that balance for myself. So what I had to do was, going back to defining Black womanhood, I had to be honest with myself and say, who are you right now?
Mm.
And when I did not have good things to say, you need help,
Right.
because who you're being right now is not who you are. And you know that.
Mm.
You know who you are, and you know who you're being, and who you're being right now is not who you are. So you need help to get back, or to get right. And so therapy is super important for me.
I'm like,
I Therapy is important.
yes.
It's something that I have to do to help myself. And so that is what I do for my mental health. One of the most important things, and one of the things I try to be very consistent with, is seeing a licensed mental health professional that is here to help me. I have friends, I have family, I have people who will talk to me, who will pray for me, who will hold space for me. But I also understand that, when we talk about God, right? He is definitely the great counselor, the mighty counselor. He is a counselor. Counseling is a gift that he has given to people.
It's so true.
So much so that those people felt as strongly about their gift as I do about mine, that they went to school for it and they studied it and they made it their craft and they've dedicated their life to it. And so my family and friends, as much as they love me and can counsel me, that's not their primary role in my life. And it puts a lot on them. And there are some ways that I might feel like they fail in me, because there was a point in time where I said, how did y'all let me, in my mind, how'd y'all let me get this bad? And I had to step back and say, how many people called and checked on you all the time? A bunch. How many people offered to help you? A bunch.
And were you honest with them?
And the thing was, were they equipped to help you in the ways that you needed to be helped, though? Were they equipped to even see through what was going on to say, this is what this person needs?
Right.
People will love you all day and will be wonderfully well-meaning, but they're not always equipped. And so when I first started going to therapy, I went to someone who specialized in postpartum therapy. Because I was able to identify that that's what I need. Not saying my mama couldn't help me, and not saying my pastor, but this person spent a lot of time working on that specifically. And so I was grateful that I was able to find her and go to her and work with someone who has studied this and who knows some of the techniques and knows some processing things that could help me in my very particular, situation where I was at that time. Other things that I do to help my mental health is I'm not a very regimented person. I don't do a lot of routines, but they help, especially being a parent. It helps your child too. And being a single parent, it helps. So having some sense of knowing how my day will go, even if it ain't super strict, it helps to calm things up here. It helps to calm things up here. One of my best friends always says, like, outer calm, inner peace or something like that. So I know when I'm looking around and my house looks crazy, it's a reflection of what's going on up here. So sometimes I have to stop. I have to call my mom and say, hey, I'm bringing the baby over for a couple hours if you can keep her. And I make it a point, I'm going to go tidy up. I'm going to give her to someone so I can focus on this. And I'm not going to let my space get out of order. And that helps me to start getting back, in order here. And so those are some of the little things that I just do for my mental health. And I definitely pray. I'm not great with journaling because I'm not super regimented, but I write. A practice of mine is I will write notes in my phone. And if they're negative thoughts, if they're sad thoughts, if they're dark thoughts, I delete them, but I get them out, but I don't let them stay. I write them and I delete that because I don't need to keep that. If they're positive, if it's joy, if it's hope, if it's peace, if it's a prayer, if it's my affirmations, those stay. Sometimes I write them on paper, and if they're not good, I tear it up and I ball it up because my feelings are real.
Yeah.
They're valid. They may not be intelligent or true, but they real and they have some power. And so I give them the space, I honor them. But if they're not feelings I want to keep, they got to go. If they are the feelings that I want to keep, then they stay. And I go back and I ruminate over those. I go back and I read over those notes because I used to keep the sad, horrible, downtrodden ones in my phone and read back over them. It wasn't helping me.
Push you back in that space.
Exactly.
That's so good. Those aren't little things. Those are major things because that's I would call it, for lack of better terms, like your mental health plan. Like everybody's mental health journey looks different. The things that we do are different. Like for me, taking walks outside, hearing the birds chirp, feeling fresh
I love a walk,
on my
Bianca.
face,
I love a walk.
like even if it's raining, like I've walked in the rain and
I can't
just standing, it just feels good to me. But like everybody has different things that speak to them. So.
I like the warmth and good weather. So I really do like taking walks, but I can't stand rain. I don't like precipitation in any forms. I don't like the rain. I don't like snow. I don't like ice, sleet.
I'm not with the ice and the snow, but rain, I can.
So that's why winter is always hard for me. But I love that it's getting nice again. During the pandemic, where I was living was right next to a forest preserve, and they had this trail, and I would take the baby out and walk every single day. And we walked one time, I think the walk that we took, because the trail goes through some woods and down to some, I live in Kankakee and they're called Indian caves. And I'm like, what makes a cave an Indian cave? But we walked down there and I think the walk there and back is maybe like an hour and a half.
Oh, wow.
But it's so good to be out in nature, to get some sunshine, to get some vitamin D, to
Yes.
just be able to take in the things around. And of course, she fell asleep, but it's calming, you know what I'm saying, for both of us. And when I do that, when I do things like that, because I am a big thinker and I can't be an overthinker and I do tend to ruminate, sometimes I have to play uplifting music because my thoughts will go
Oh yeah.
to not. So I have to feed myself, you know what I'm saying, things. Take in this moment, ground yourself. Sometimes I might listen to a sermon, you know, a uplifting one. But I love a good walk. And I think it really is good for us to connect to nature. I think more so than some people realize. Even people who don't really like outdoors, I wish people would take walks more just to try it a little more. I think it's especially as Black people.
Yeah.
We are people of the land and we forget that because we've been pulled away from that. We're tribal people. We're people of the land. We're people of being together like that. And we be looking at white folks and be like, that's white folks stuff. No,
No, it came from
we
the
be outside.
land. Even like taking walks with friends.
Mm-hmm.
How I really got into walking in undergrad, it became therapeutic for me
Mm-hmm.
because that was the way I worked out my frustration. I was like, come take a walk with me, like, come.
Yes.
And I would just walk out my frustration. So by the time we made it back to campus, I was like, all right, I can make it through the rest of my day.
Yeah.
At
And
least,
even moving our bodies, right?
yeah.
We the more I learn about therapy and certain things, we get so detached from our bodies and what we're feeling. Um, And when you're upset, you're angry, you're happy, or whatever, you actually feel it in your body. And we aren't even attached to that as much as we used to be anymore. And I think, or even like my daughter, I be learning a lot, trying to learn about child development. And she like was being rough one day out of nowhere. She was like tackling her cousin. And I'm like, we don't do all that. I don't know why she's hitting. And they were like, it's a sensory thing. They need to feel that energy in their bodies. Like it's a thing they need to get it out. Like sometimes kids who kick a lot, don't be like, no, stop, don't do all the kicking. Give them something that's appropriate to kick because it's something that they need to do. Taking that walk, people, we mentioned Posh before. Posh likes to run. My dad does marathons. Baby, I ain't running. I don't need to
But
feel it like that.
that's the way to get that
That's
energy
the way
out.
they get it out. And that like my dad literally is going to be 60 this year. This man has run 19 marathons. And I'm like, go you. And I remember the first time he did it, the Chicago Marathon, I went, had my sign and stood at the finish line and he finished it. He's like, yeah, we should make this a family tradition. I'm like, yes, most definitely we should. He's like, okay, training starts in May. And I was like, oh, no.
Keep
No,
holding
I
my
meant me
sign.
coming. Right. With my sign was the tradition. I ain't running with you. But you know, that finding a way, I think sometimes like some people say, like I read, I journal, all those things are good. But getting back to moving your body is definitely one of those, is a very therapeutic thing no matter who you are. It literally is something that we are built and designed to do, and just finding the way. Some people love them some Zumba, some people swim. Finding the way that does that for you. But I can agree with you 100%. We gonna have to schedule a walk one day. I will take a walk.
Oh yeah.
I will take a
And I
walk.
can go. Be like,
Mm-hmm.
all right, we'll be back
Mm-hmm.
in a while. So you talk a lot about your daughter and what she means to you. When you think about your, I'm not sure if you envision your daughter as an adult, but if you have, what do you hope she will remember about her childhood?
I hope. I always wonder how things are going to come off when I say them. So whoever watches this, just bear with me. I hope she will remember feeling safe.
Mhm.
I hope she will remember her childhood feeling safe and feeling free.
Mm.
Because as I do my therapy journey, therapy is the thing right now, right? And as I look around me at the world and at people and at how we operate, I look at how much we operate out of fear
Mm.
and about how so many of those fears go back to your childhood.
Mm. That's true.
People with anxiety, people who deal with imposter syndrome, all of that stuff is rooted in fear. And a lot of that fear came from our childhood. Um, and it was because we didn't feel safe. And it wasn't necessarily that we always felt like we were in physical danger, but we felt like someone was going to yell at us, or we felt like we were going to get in trouble, or we felt like we were going to be misunderstood, or we felt like we were going to be, judged or punished or lashed out. We were afraid oftentimes to be who we were. We were afraid to express ourselves. We were afraid of how, like I even just said, I wonder how people are how I come off. You learn that when you're little, what behavior is acceptable, what's weird and what's normal. I don't want her to grow up remembering that. I want her to grow up remembering being free and feeling safe. And so it goes into like my parenting style. I'm one of them like new age parents, and I, full of different things from here. I try conscious or gentle in parenting. I dabble. Some of that stuff I can't get with, but some of it I can. So I do my best. And I ain't out here lying and saying I'll never raise my voice. I do my best not to yell. I do my best not to do spankings or whoopings. I do my very best not to do that. If she's having a full-on tantrum, and I got my old school family members and people, and get up out the floor and don't be letting her fall out like that. Why not? She's 2. She's not going to be 17 and still falling out on the floor. Right now, she's 2. She has these emotions in a 2-year-old body with a 2-year-old brain that's trying to figure out how to deal with that. She only got 2-year-old levels of language. Well, she might be a little advanced. We read around here, but she can't express the things. She doesn't even really know why she feels that I'm upset, and she probably doesn't even know to say upset. Mm-hmm. And what she has the emotional and the cognitive capability to do is lay out in the floor and punish her for that. Why? Because it makes me uncomfortable. She uncomfortable too. That's why she doing it. And so
if you want to be really honest, we as adults do that too. It just looks different.
Oh, babe, and it would you talk about it? It just looks.
We don't always want to admit. It looks differently.
It looks different. It's the same thing.
We didn't have the tools to learn how to cope.
Yes.
And how to express our emotions.
Yes.
And a manner in which it will be healthy for us.
Because people didn't want to be, for any number of reasons, right? Not necessarily they didn't want to be, but we don't have the tools. When a child is doing that, you shut that down right now. And I understand all the reasoning behind it, but there's a better way. There's a different way. I'll sit down on the floor with her, and I'll get on her level. And if she wants comfort, come here to mom. Sometimes she doesn't want to. But what I don't do is I don't isolate her. I'm going to sit here with you, and I'm going to say, you're having big feelings. Can we breathe? Because what I've learned, I'm a model for you. Just like my example earlier with the girls on the paper. I'm a model for you how I want you to act. When you're upset because you can't have a cookie, there's a way to be upset about not being able to have a cookie. And I'm going to show you what it looks like. But me yelling at you because you yelling is reinforcing that you should yell when you're upset.
Yes.
Me hitting you because I don't like what you're doing reinforces that people should be violent to you when they don't like your behavior. And we look at policing in the United States, right? And we look at how people treat Black bodies.
Yeah.
Because they are trying to elicit compliance because you didn't do what I said. Mm-hmm. What did we do at home? You didn't do what I said, so I'm going to make you comply by putting my hands on you. I mean, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, but that's kind of how I see it. And so I'm just kind of like, and again, it takes so much restraint from me. It takes so much patience. And what I've learned is me trying to parent this way is a whole lot more about me than it is about her. Mm-hmm. When you having this whole meltdown and I feel myself coming up here, I'm triggered.
Right.
So let me unpack my trigger. And so, and also what I've like, whining irks me to no end. And I was looking at a conscious parenting thing. And it was like, why is whining so triggering? It was like, maybe you were putting, and it had all these deep reasons. And I said, it's for none of these deep reasons. I'm actually not even triggered. That's just a very audibly unpleasant sound. I don't like it. If somebody was standing there rustling a paper bag for the amount of time she want, I'd be equally as pissed off. I just don't like the way that sound, and it gets under my skin. And that's okay. That's okay. It's okay to say, that's just annoying as hell. That's why I don't like it. because it's not real words. It's just a whole lot of sounds. We not getting nowhere. As a person who is a leader, who wants progress, who wants to fix the situation, ain't none of that happening. It can't happen with you
Right.
not using your real voice. But also, you're too.
You too.
How old am I? I'm old enough to work through this. You don't have it.
Right.
And so what I can do is, okay, when you're ready to use your words that I can understand, I can help you. And when you use your regular voice, I can understand you better. And then I give you time. And when you're ready to use your regular voice, we can talk. But hey, that's on you over there if you want to keep mumbling, you know. And so to your point, I want her to remember, you know, being free to be herself, and being safe to be herself, being safe to, you know, have a little meltdown or have a moment. And my mom is not going to push me away or disconnect from me because I'm not being my best self right now. I think of some of the things that I have done and the trouble I've gotten in and the bad decisions that I made because I didn't feel like I could go to the adults in my life because I was afraid of their reaction.
Mm.
And me dealing with it by myself or asking my friends who are equally as unwise as me for advice, to me felt like a safer or a more comfortable option than going to the adults in my life. I don't want her to have that. And I know I can try to be the most kind and open and understanding person, and she still may not come to me, but I want to know that I did my very best
Right.
to have an open line of communication and make myself a soft place to land and a safe spot for her. And then extrinsically, I want to travel with her. I want her to remember going a lot of places and seeing a lot of things and trying new things. I want her to remember the ocean and the beach and airplanes and sand and mountains and pyramids. And like I want her to travel as much of the world as we can see, you know, as I can afford for her to see. And I want her to remember that. And to say, you know, my mom took me to different states. My mom took me to different climates. My mom took me to different environments. My mom let me try different food. Notice didn't make me, but let me try different food. You know, my mom let me hear different music. And I started out while she's little. You know, we had this pandemic, and so much was shut down.
Right.
And she turned 2 at the top of the pandemic. She spent her whole, you know, year of 2 in the middle of that. But there was like a Latino Heritage Month celebration, and it was socially distanced and all that. So we went out to that. You know, we went out to that. I want you to hear these different kinds of Latin music, and I want you to try, you know, some of the little, you know, the different things, and see people who don't look like you, who dress, you know, differently than you. I want you to have those experiences, and I want her to remember, because I think that's what's gonna help her with her humanity. I want her to have that everybody ain't like me, and everything that was my day to day ain't everybody's day to day. It's a big world out there.
Yeah.
It's a real big world out there, and what's normal to me is not necessarily the norm. And I think that will help her to be open-minded. And I hope that if I raise her to feel safe and feel free, she'll go into her adulthood being able to feel safe and feel free, and not be like me shrinking in that meetings. I was late and be like, girl, people be late. Always. I want to always feel like that.
Yes, that's so beautiful. And just you speaking that over her life, declaring it now and affirming it and putting some action behind it. My prayer is that she will feel that, looking back over her childhood, like, man, because you spoke that, you're creating
Mhm.
the environment for it, no matter what is called, what it takes for you to transform into the
Mhm.
woman that you desire to be, into the mother that you desire to be, to create a world for her. And that takes me back to like all the isms that we are impacted by on a daily basis, right? Just think about, we have to create the world that we want our children
Yeah.
to live in,
Yes.
as one vehicle to start to reduce some of these traumatic things that's going on. But that's a whole nother conversation, right?
It is, but I want to throw this in there because it made me think about this debate about Black History Month and like teaching children Black history, right? And people being like, we gotta do it at home. The schools ain't gonna do it right anyway. And it just finally dawned on me for the first time this year, this Black History Month, that like when Black history literally is a part of accurate American history, and our kids learning it at home is cool. and it helps them with their history and where they came from and who they were and how people who look like them showed up. But white kids probably need to learn a little more than our kids do, because they are the ones who are caught up in these systems that have benefited off of these things they're not even aware of.
Yeah.
We need white people's help so much. Not even, actually, it's their job to dismantle this. They built this house. The quote, the master's tools, you know what I'm saying? You can't dismantle the master. Y'all got to dismantle this. And if we're not teaching the folks who need to pull this system apart and actually have some of the most power to do it, what actually happened and what actually going on in the roots of these things, the fact that we think Black history should only be for Black people is doing us such a disservice, and understanding that our best hope is the coming generations. Our best hope is raising those kids not to be racist from jump.
Right.
Racism is very much a white people's problem. And if we so worried about teaching Black history to Black kids and not white ones, when they're actually the ones who need to understand the history and understand what they need to be tearing apart and what it did to people and what it did to this country and the debt that is owed, like, we're doing ourselves a disservice by saying, oh, we just gonna lead them out the conversation. No, they need to be front and center. Marcus Garvey, that's gonna make my baby proud. Marcus Garvey is gonna help you to understand what equity is.
Mm-hmm.
My child knowing that this country was built on folks' backs means one thing. Your child knowing that you really ain't as deserving as you think you are, because some of the wealth your family has was built on my family's back, is gonna mean something different for you and how you operate moving forward. You knowing that this campus that you sitting on was built for free by somebody who looked like me, that might make you feel a little different about that Black person in your class and they don't belong here. We built this. We definitely, you may not be as deserving, but that was my my little tidbit for the day that's been on my mind.
Be preaching, y'all. So, in closing, are there any last pieces, gems, reflections you would like to share with the women listening?
So when you asked me to do this, you were talking about Black women and leadership. And I think in leadership, there are just a couple things that I think are super important. I'm gonna throw out there. One of them is to show up as your authentic self as a leader. Show up as your authentic self to the extent of which you are comfortable, though. Because them people at your job, and it's not always your job where you're a leader, right? But at your job, those people in these spaces don't deserve every single little bit of you. Because you have to have something for yourself first. And some parts of yourself are sacred and everybody don't deserve it and don't need to have it. They ought not. Some parts of you should be reserved for your family and the people who really, really love you. And, and make sure you know what those parts are. And you're not giving them away for a paycheck, because they don't necessarily deserve it. So show up as your authentic self, but make sure you have those boundaries in place and make sure you're showing up to the extent of which you are comfortable. Because people will ask you to I saw something the other day, it was like, y'all told me show up as my whole self to work and my whole self will get me fired. And I'm like, ain't that the truth? My whole self might get me fired in here. So, do that. And also when you're in leadership positions, take advantage of the opportunities that are there. Go to the workshops, go to the seminars. When them people sending you on a conference, go. Sometimes you're not interested in golf, but go to them outings when they have the company golf outing and network and get to know these people. Sometimes there are people in the room that you might not have necessarily come across or sat down and talked to that can really help you and open doors for you. Or there's somebody in the room that you're supposed to open that door for. And just you showing up put you, there. And I think, especially for me working at higher ed, there are oftentimes people who come to the college to do a speech or a seminar or a talk or a webinar about something that does not necessarily have to do with my field, but I listen in because there's so many opportunities to grow. And so just to show up, and take advantage of those things that are there. And then my last gem is when I'm talking about, defining Black womanhood and just Blackness in general, one thing I hope every Black person the world over will focus on moving forward is joy as resistance.
Mm, yes.
Working in EDI, people ask me about working in EDI all the time. Because if I could reimagine my work, it would be creating safe Black spaces for Black people to be creative and be joyful. Because we done did a lot of work. We help people unpack and dismantle, and we explain the isms, and we walk them through this, and we pushing for equity. I think right now is our time to heal, our time to create, our time to have joy, our time to have love. As a Black person, you have to live in a lot of resistance. And I hope you understand that you smiling, you taking care of yourself, you loving on your family, you having the things that you desire and you enjoy. That is resistance. That is you doing everything they said you couldn't and wouldn't do. That is you having all the things that they have tried to take from you and keep from you and bar you from. Just having joy and peace is a beautiful act of resistance and insurrection to these systems. And I hope that we put a whole lot more time into our healing and our joy and our peace. And we, and you fight the power in that way.
Mhm.
Fight the power in that way. Joy, let that be the way you fight the power.
Yes. That's good, Whitney. Yeah, I'm just sitting in this. We could go on and on. Whitney just needs to get her own podcast. I'm just saying. But
Now, we're gonna
we
pray about it.
please do. For consideration. Um, not now, whenever. But I thank you for your time, for your sharing, because you didn't have to. You didn't have to say yes, but your yes will bless many. So thank you for that. And everyone tuning in, please share, like, repost, comment,
All the things.
all the things. And tune in again and for more. So as we continue on this journey of defining Black womanhood, like Whitney said, you get to name it. So name it for yourself. You tell your narrative. And that's what this conversation is all about. You telling your own story and walking in authenticity
Mhm.
at whatever level that you choose to share. All right. Until next time.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure.